bonjour, hello, and welcome to the final stream of June. Welcome to a Reactathon, which usually happens in the early, like at the beginning of the month, and this time it happens on the end of the month. So, why the end of the month? Well, you probably know what came out during the beginning of the month. I'm talking about the Nintendo Switch, the second Nintendo Switch 2, as people call it usually. Yeah, brand new console, brand new reactions from people. People say that it's good, people say that it's bad. You know, many people talking about that. Like, every time a console comes out, it's always the same deal. That's why I waited till the end of the month to do the Reactathon. Because I knew I was going to be reacting on videos from people watching, like reacting to the Switch, so the Switch 2. And that's today that I'm going to be looking at videos from people playing on the people saying if like the Switch 2 is good or bad. Just so you know, if you hear they already have a fan. I probably set up the sound, but basically I had to put on the AC because temperatures have been pretty high those last few days, and I got my AC today because if you don't remember my stream yesterday, it was kind of unbearable. So now this is an improvement compared to yesterday, which is pretty nice to see. Give me a second, I'm getting the window ready. What we're going to be doing on this early stream is first of all, we usually do with Reactathon, we are going to be taking a look at videos that were suggested by my amazingly community. So we have to begin with YouTube poop. Every time there is a Reactathon, someone provides a YouTube poop to me. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. It's related to cars. Look, the title of the thing, chows, and a car like emoji. So let's take a look at what this is. Let's see if it's funny. I don't remember last time he suggested me YouTube poop of Team Fortress 2. I burst out of laughter. I don't remember. So let's see if it's just as good.
Okay, here we go. Focus. Breakfast. I am breakfast. Speed. 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 Wow! I've never seen so many turkeys in one place.
Okay.
Open this door!
That's already beginning well.
Lightning McQueen here. Wow! Look at that McQueen. Nothing sues a rusty bump like me. Use wow to look like me. Lightning McQueen here. And Lightning McQueen too. Use rusty bumps to look like rear ends. Wow! Look at that. You're dropping by the second. Yes, yes, yes. You too can meet that queen.
Who do you think you are?
I'm Lightning McQueen here, and
Oh, is that right?
Yes. What do you think? Look at me.
There's not much resemblance.
Oh, is that a joke?
You are not the same. Case dismissed.
I don't mean to be rude here, Doc, but you're an idiot. Excuse me?
This here is the finest machine ever built.
What?
And this here is best.
You gotta be kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hereby sentencing you to death.
The time has come.
This place is crazy.
Hey, I know this might be a bad time right now, but
So we're gonna hit you up to Sweet Bessie.
I would rather die.
You start there where the road begins. You finish down there where the road ends.
Whoa, how long is this gonna take?
Well, Fella does it right, should take him about
Forever.
But I should be in California schmoozing right now.
Then if I were you, I'd shot.
Welcome to Radiator Springs.
We're gonna be going now, okay?
Tell your friends.
Hey! I know how to get to Disneyland.
Oh, do ya?
No, not really.
Bye now.
No! Don't leave me here. Okay. Yes. Listen, I'm Lightning McQueen, the famous race car. You gotta help me. Okay, no. No. Don't leave me.
Use it.
Mater, let me get this straight. I can go when I take you to dinner.
That's what they done did said.
I shouldn't have to put up with this. Hey, big fella. Yeah, you in the red. Don't leave me here.
Oh, he just hates you.
What was that for?
I need you to watch Doc tonight.
Well, daggone. Wait a minute. What if he tries killing me?
May Doc have mercy on your soul.
What?
Well, what are you waiting for?
My name is Mater, and I'll be your waiter.
Get out later.
Okie dokie.
Oh,
You owe me $32,000 in legal fees.
all right. I'm gonna put him in jail till he rots. Throw him out of here, Sheriff.
Boom, baby.
What do you want, Sally?
Doc, you look awful this morning.
Never heard that one before.
You're funny looking.
You got a funny looking face.
Okay, I didn't want to have to do this, Doc, but you leave me no choice. You're all aware of I'm a good person.
Here she goes again.
It is our job and our pleasure to pass gas.
Seems like Sally's right.
This place is crazy. So you're a judge, a doctor, and a crazy grandpa car.
Oh,
What?
I'll put it simple. Get out of here.
No, thank you, because this road is mine.
Is that right?
Yes.
This is getting work.
Listen, I'm gonna cut to the chase. Me, you, dinner.
But
What? I don't get it.
nothing. I just thought I'd say thank you for doing a do and the cozy cone.
Well, it matches the rest of the town.
How romantic.
Yeah.
I am so not taking you to dinner.
That's okay. You can take Mater.
Morning, my fiance.
Hey, no cameras! Alone. Lightning McQueen here, and I use Rusty's medicated bump ointment, new rear end formula. Wow, look at that grandpa car. Use Rusty's. What was that for? Doc, wait! Don't leave me here!
Random comment. Ever thought of doing a YTP on the country bears?
Oh, that's the
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Besides a few moments, nah, I don't approve. Sorry, man. So yeah, you know what? Let's just see the second one. Age restricted. Okay, never mind. I think this one I've already watched it. So okay, out of suggestions, and let's just go straight to like the what people actually want to watch. So as you know, the Nintendo Switch 2 came out at the beginning of the month. Got it as well, and well, I do like the console. Like it's okay. Battery life is really like mid. I would even say poor in some games like Cyberpunk, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. Just know that like it's not a console that you can use for a long time without breaking yourself like an external battery. So what we're going to do is that you already know my feelings about the Nintendo Switch 2. So let's take a look at the other people's Nintendo Switch 2 like feelings. I've got a little bit of videos over here. and you can probably see by the titles. So let's go ahead and watch some of them. I already watched this one because it seemed important for me to put it that way. So let's get to see the Nintendo Switch 2 1 week later. Beat them ups. Here we go. Okay.
I have spent one whole week with the Switch 2, and I can't stop playing this thing. I have a lot of thoughts, and I want to put them all out there in this video right now. And if you're here wondering if I have any kind of buyer's remorse, if after this first week I'm already getting kind of bored and I regret buying it, I hate to tell you, you're gonna have to find another video to have your opinions validated. I have some gripes, there's some weird things about it, but mostly...
So I think by the beginning of the video, you know what he's going to say? Good.
It's all positive, and I'm going to take you through my first week with this console and everything that I've experienced.
Okay.
Like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to hit that 2 million for the Switch 2 million. I would love to have that happen. Now, I did buy every game at launch, so I'm quite privileged here, and I'm aware of that. It's because this is my whole career. I know this is not a...
You make videos for a living. Of course you will do that. Like, for me, I only got like Mario Kart World and Cyberpunk. Not that I'm not interested with other games, but like my YouTube channel and my Twitch at the same time is not my entire career. Like I'm not doing just that of my entire life.
Cool experience, and I'm adding that into the equation. We're pretty much just going to be talking about a couple of things like Mario Kart and Cyberpunk because I feel like that's what most people are going to buy. Let's start with Mario Kart. You really couldn't have done anything better for a launch title. Everybody loves Mario Kart. You have friends and streamers going online and
You have friends and enemies
playing together. It's been such an exciting, fun launch, and I think it's probably the strongest launch title a console has ever had. I have gripes with it that I want to get into later, but if you watch my first impressions video, you pretty much know how I feel about that game. It's a great game to play day one. It's a great game to dive into game chat with, which we're going to talk about that in a second. I mean, even if we're to buy into what people say when they say, oh, it only launches with one game, but if that one game is just Mario Kart World, that's a pretty great one game to launch with. It covers most bases and appeals to the most amount of people. Kim and I have been really busy with the baby, so she hasn't really had a ton of time around me going back to work to play games. But I sat down with her and Stinky Joe, and I set up her Switch 2, and Kim started playing Mario Kart, and she had no real interest in the MK because she's never really played one, and instantly she got stuck in for 2 hours. We played cups, we played knockout tour, and then she got stuck on one challenge and she just kept trying to do it in the free roam world, and I was teaching her how to do the flips and everything and the drifting and enjoying it way more than I think she realized that she would, and that's because that's just Mario Kart. So we've been taking a look at a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 accessories, and Mumba hit me up because they are convinced that if I liked every...
Okay, I have to stop here. Yeah, this is a sponsor, but it's not the most important thing. D-Brand. Oh, you know D-Brand. They've made a Nintendo Switch protective case, which actually renders the Switch 2 like more fragile. More fragile. You buy a thing that supposedly protects your console and your investment, and it makes the thing worse. What can I say?
Everything else I looked at, I was going to love their Switch 2 accessories. They trying hard if you're looking.
So let's just hope that their accessories are better than D-Brand's.
Actually, pretty comfortable for your fingers to sit across the entire top. Protective, all things stop. Thank you, Mumba, for look at Cyberpunk quickly. Off the rip, I want to say, wow, this game is gorgeous. I honestly can't believe I am playing a Nintendo console when I play this game.
Yep. Cyberpunk, you can do that. Yep. If you want the fame, then you can have it. But yeah, like what I wanted to say is that yeah, I played this game and it's freaking gorgeous on this system. Like people say that it went better than a PS4 Pro. I'm here to agree. It works beautifully, and the mouse controls are excellent for it. So yeah, mouse controls very important if you want to play some FPS like Cyberpunk 2077. Play.
Gorgeous. I honestly can't believe I am playing a Nintendo console when I
Me
play
neither.
this game. And it's not just because when I booted it up, it asked me to pick my penis size, and I picked medium because I'm a modest king.
And can do a thing a bit like a PS4 Pro. Like, look at the difference. A home console which can do like hundreds of watts and like a handle. You can't really compare that.
I always say in return is, hey, let's meet up at a park somewhere. I'll bring my Switch 2 in my pocket. You bring your PlayStation 5 in your pocket, and then we'll set them up in the park and we'll compare them right on the swings and the roundabouts and the slides. Oh, what's that? You also have to bring a monitor and a bunch of cords and wires. My point is,
And you forgot
the Fantasy Life I Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade because I was playing this on the Switch 1 originally. And I gotta tell you, it is a massive upgrade. For $2.49, my save carried over and now it's in full resolution, 60 FPS, super fast load times. A lot of games are just running better now. There are games that aren't. I've tried games like Witcher and Alan Wake. Alan Wake is specifically on Nintendo's list of, hey, these games have issues for some reason. And my God, this game just looks awful. You can't just take an old...
you can really see that. Like the video is 720p. There we
going to look on Switch 2. An
Yeah,
example
like
of that is Witcher 3.
they're going to have like to remake the game or like make special editions of it, which some of them did actually, but not all.
I think it's funny that CD Projekt Red's last game on the Switch is so ugly, cyberpunk the way that it is, but that's because that
Yeah,
game's just optimized for Switch 1 while it's running cyberpunk the way that it is, but
shut the console, mate.
that's because that game's just optimized for Switch 1 and not Switch 2, so it's still pretty hideous. It's a shame that it doesn't work like that, but that's just not how technology works. Hopefully, CD Projekt will retool Witcher 3 now that they have all of the tool sets. I've had some matches and I'm very impressed by how fast and how clean that game looks. It just runs really well. I even booted up Fortnite and played it on stream with my...
Yeah, but we don't care about this.
Night with my friend Fried Biscuits. We've been doing 1v1. I think really what makes game chat shine is, and I know it's obvious, but it's not so obvious until you start using it. It's all console, and it's
try on Discord. But all they will do, that worked. And now like voice chat, you can do like the same thing straight on the console and for every game, even those who doesn't have any online functionality. That's the way to do it.
you can hit this C button. You can do create chat, invite whatever friends you want, and open the lobby. They can all join, and immediately you're talking. You can all share your gameplay together. The mic quality isn't the best.
For a mic, literally, for console itself, it's not that bad.
Yeah, but that's what I've realized as well. Like the mic quality isn't the best, but at least for the tests I've done, the voice remains pretty understandable.
Yeah, no, that's what I agree too.
It really felt like well, it doesn't need to be good, so why should we? When it would be nice if it
Like game chat is like the Xbox Live chat feature that was introduced in 2002. And text chatting was introduced in 2005 on the Xbox 360. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the following Nintendo console will finally have text chat.
and be like, hey, want game chat? And just some kind of text-based option to message them. And I guess the game chat talk can tie into the camera talk. I used it on stream, which you can go and watch. And then also today I was testing it out in my living room because my living room's pretty deep. And I wanted to know if it could actually catch my face. And I was laughing my ass off at first because my and part.
Imagine, hang on. This is me. No, my camera is zooming up. This is my my MacBook camera, so it does zoom up. But I can actually, hang on. As I'm not playing on my capture card, I think I can even replace my camera and
screen, overlaying the gameplay. There's no way anybody could see me. You can even like add the background back in and zoom in, but it just zooms in the middle. So it ends up cutting off my head. It doesn't zoom in on
congrats.
me. And I find this
Okay. I didn't test that, but that's stupid.
weird because there is face recognition tracking. If you go to face only, put your own years, but it's not something consoles have been doing for years. Putting it console side is actually unique and a fun feature that I appreciate.
However, yeah, like video chatting on console, like this was a thing on the Xbox 360, but didn't return on the Xbox One. Well, unless you use Skype, which obviously disappeared into the nothingness of internet. And like the PS4, no video chatting. So yeah, there is something more than like the other consoles, which is good.
And I know it's only 15 frames gameplay, but at the same time, is it needed? Not really. When I'm playing a game and I have my friends' games at the bottom of the screen, I'm not looking time. idea of what they're doing. All right, that's my thoughts on game chat. And again, I've been using it a lot the last 7 days, more than I expected. So I kind of like it. The battery is definitely a gripe that I've had in my first week. All right, wait a second. Apparently not. There is a weird issue to every console launch has something weird that happens with it.
That's what we're going to be seeing at the end.
Only weird thing that happens with the Switch 2, but Nintendo put out a statement that there is actually an issue with the battery. Almost, if not every single Nintendo Switch 2 right now has this issue. So apparently the battery is quicker than the battery is actually draining, and people are reporting that when it actually gets to low and even 1% battery, they can keep playing their Switch for almost an hour before it finally dies. So clearly this reading is wrong. When I'm playing Cyberpunk for 45 minutes, my low than what the previous Switch charge cord can do. They're not really interchangeable. This is on 93%. This just came off charge a few minutes ago at 100%. So something is definitely wrong. Yep. Nintendo is saying, confirm that you have the latest update. And yep, Kim's Switch is up to date. So off the hold. And now you're in recovery and you've already fixed it. Apparently something about entering this recovery mode.
And actually, yeah, this is a solution, but Nintendo decided to make a software update, which basically got to fix the things. So basically, yeah, you don't need to do that anymore. Just make sure your Switch is updated.
Resets the battery. Okay, so now I'm going to power the console off again by holding the power button. Okay, so now it's off again. So now it should be fixed. When I was complaining about the battery, I was playing Cyberpunk handheld. Accurately reading what percent the battery is at. A very weird issue, and I'll say that now the battery feels good. You know, it's still less than the other Switch, but being able to play Cyberpunk with HDR on, or even diving into Mario Kart with 60 FPS, 1080 frames, HDR on, and play for 2 or 3 hours, that
I'm playing quality. That's probably why my Switch lasted less.
My opinion, really good for what this system is doing, what it's offering, and the battery that it's giving. All right, back to the video. If you think the screen looks a little dim to you, it's because you might have this auto brightness setting on. It's almost literally like turning a flashlight on and off. So yeah, definitely be aware of that. Okay, let's talk about some things console side. Really love it is so a Switch and then just yanking the Joy-Cons off the side. It's such a nicer, more streamlined experience. Everything else is obviously pretty much the same. The kickstand is really easy to access, really rigid and
much better than the Switch.
All the different angles you can get with it, but also someone pointed out, if you take off the headrest of a car and on a holder on the back seat of a car, which is really cool. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is when I first got this Switch, I was kind of disgusted by this floppy little guy here. And while I still don't love that I think that's going to break, there's something extremely satisfying now about when you put a game cartridge in and you just snap that down. It has such a nicer feeling. There was definitely thought key. It's a game key. I appreciate that. I know people don't like these game key carts, and trust me, I don't either. But I have kind of come around on just the fact that at least it's better than all of those cases we used to buy for the Switch that came with a little pamphlet in there and just a code for the game. At least it's something that got by the Split Fiction physical release, because the game key cards, as you know, have this big ugly white border on the bottom of it symbolizing it's a game key card. It's ugly, but at least you don't get got. Split Fiction doesn't have that, so I thought Split Fiction must have the game. I know you're already wondering what's this little bar down here, but what to look for when it came to a game key card, and it was this, nothing else. And I kind of just didn't pay attention to this, but it says game cart not included, full game download.
Developers, like, and begin as well, like, they only let the options to comment on the older system. What a non-eco-friendly method, mate.
There's no game in here, just a code card. So it's actually worse than this, but they don't have to publicly say it as loud and proud. It's a bit confusing, as I like to say. And the down, and just like that, as you can see on my screen here, you're in mouse mode. It goes from mouse mode to not mouse mode the second you pick it up and the second you pick it down. It's so incredibly quick. The technology there is really cool. I felt unstoppable in Fortnite. I mean, I lost every game because my friends aren't as good. Every 1v1 I came against other Nintendo Switch players, the fact that I was using a mouse felt OP. There's nothing really gimmicky about it. It's not like a bad mouse. It's a really great mouse. I haven't tried it in Cyberpunk yet, but in Cyberpunk, and the mouse mode to
It's
make
good,
it
like, I've tested
really
but it's,
smooth
yeah,
to
it's
play,
neat.
and it really does. I know it's very gimmicky. I can't even say like kids will love it, because again, in the first 2 seconds you pick your dong size, and in the first big mission you save a naked lady. So, you know, this isn't a game that I can say, oh, kids are gonna love the love to I love that. They obviously still have their featured tab, which right now is just going to be all Switch 2 stuff. There is a Switch 2 and a Switch 1 section when you go to bestsellers, which is nice. You can separate them still. Recent releases starts with popular recent releases now, which have obviously all the Switch 2 stuff. And Switch have this red border on top. And a week later, as of filming this, the most recent one is still Mario Kart. Switch 1 games don't have that banner, and there has been a ton of shovelware released since launch in the last week. And of course, more hentai games, which is really disappointing because this console just launched.
Fully disable access to eShop.
It's definitely why they put release. That if you're just holding it like this, you don't notice a difference over the previous Switch. It's only been a week and I haven't put this thing down. Kind of reaching my Mario Kart limit for now, and I've definitely moved over to Cyberpunk and trying out some of these other games, and I'm really excited to play through those. We're only about a month away from Donkey Kong coming out, and then start games. Your first experience with the console has been. If you enjoyed this video,
What there is that he likes the Switch 2. Of course, there are a few problems, but now let's see people that like aren't really liking the console. Just 2 minutes, but you'll see it.
Reggie here. Reggie here.
Nintendo is an awful company.
Thank you.
Charging $80 for a video game isn't just ridiculous, but it's dangerous.
In April, I'll be dropping the title that's meant so much to me.
I mean, what?
You know, it's a lot of money to spend $60 to replay a game. Well, you know what?
Are you fucking kidding me?
We're pleased to see the reaction so far.
This is fucking disgusting. There is no soul behind this game.
We think we did great. Look, for us,
$80 fucking for a video game. On no planet can you defend this.
Yeah, there's, I think, some concern amongst fans that, you know, Batman is the same game that was released last year.
It's not the same.
Well, same content at least. Different
It's
way to
not the same
experience it.
content.
$80 for a game that is graphically less impressive than most Wii titles I can think of.
There's different content. There's a different way to play the game.
That is absolutely abhorrent.
I will be buying Batman Arkham City Armored Edition. It has enough to keep me interested.
You don't get it for free? I actually have to buy the hardware from them, so they make margin on my purchases.
Do not buy the Switch 2.
We got to get an Xbox.
Do not buy its $90 controllers or its $80 games. Are you out of your fucking mind? Do not buy a $450 glorified Switch 1.
Yep, I'm retiring.
To be a person as stupid as this must be blissful. Because if you ask me, they've become the biggest cancer of the industry. In complete seriousness, just ask yourself, what makes Nintendo any better than these companies?
Resident Evil 4 on GameCube.
So ultimately, what can we do? Well, we can just simply not buy it. It's that simple. Vote with your dollar.
Pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 were absolutely insane.
Thank you for your never-ending support and for your passionate love of Nintendo.
Yep, because it's a compilation of people like bashing up the console, it's twice and all of that, and then 3 days, and it became the fastest selling consoles of all time. No words for that. However, in both buyers, there were scalpers. However, for them, it didn't work quite as well as they expected. Because look.
So let's talk about a bit humorous that's come out of this Switch 2 release, the launch that happened last week, and the subsequent numbers that have been revealed to us by Nintendo and Famitsu, and how exactly it's affected the secondhand market. The market that a lot of gamers get really annoyed with because it just ends up costing us more money for a product that, if it was kind of left alone by a lot of scalpers or resellers, would most likely have been found at retail price. We've been dealing with this for a while now too, right? I mean, even the original Switch when it dropped in 2017 went through this, but obviously the PS5 and the Xbox Series was terrible for a while. PS5's going for upwards of $1,500 at one point. It was madness.
Yes.
Absolute madness. But you know what? While the Switch 2 launch and all the stuff's coming out, a lot of clashing online, there is something I think positive to be taken away here, to the sense that maybe getting a system at launch going forward, just for many of these different releases, won't actually be that bad. But we'll go over that here today. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. We're going to start today with this video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Joy-Con, supposed by rising the low Joy-Con control to knock in the sponsor 0.5 because million units globally in the first 4 days. They use the word sold because they are technically counting through to consumers, not necessarily shipped to stores. That's very important because that would mean, I assume, many people assume, that just more systems in general are in transit, as in they're still kind of flooding the market right now with supply. And we see releases all the time for things, even just outside of just game consoles, video cards being a big one, where people complain saying, how much supply did you guys actually provide us? Well, here it looks like Nintendo supplied the market with quite a number of these systems, all right? And it makes sense coming off of a massive install size, with the Switch being more than 150 million sold. It basically at launch they can't make enough of these things, right? They're going to sell out of them at that point. Even if,
and they did sell out.
10%, we'll say, the low of that install size for the Switch wanted a Switch 2, you're still going to have to sell 16 or 17 million to meet that demand, right? So in that sense, Nintendo did have a pretty big task in front of them for it, but it seems like so far they've kind of met the challenge. I say that because I do see a lot of people right now say, hey, you know what, I went to the store the next day after the midnight release, and I just bought it. It was there, and I picked out a game or two, and I got an SD card for it, a Pro Controller. It was a pretty seamless experience. It wasn't a headache to worry about getting this system necessarily. Some even just said they got it on a whim. It's like, oh yeah, there it was. I picked it up. Different world compared to 2020, right? Where it was weird seeing a PS5 in stores even a year later, right? It's strange stuff. I do think about the PS4 and the Xbox One launch when that happened in 2013, and I do remember it wasn't easy to get one, but if you had pre-ordered or you were willing to stand in line, there was stock. Like, there was enough to get a system initially at launch without having to deal with massive sellouts because of bots online, that kind of thing. So it's just, we get so many console launches now in like a decade plus, right? So we'll see, I guess, in 2028 how things go, maybe with Sony's next system. But at least for now, this seems to have thrown a bit of a wrench into the plans of a specific group, okay? That comes down to the resellers. I do want to point out, though, by the way, in Famitsu, they track, of course, the sales, retail sales in Japan. 947,000 Switch 2 systems sold there.
What? They're still saying PS4s in Japan. 24 of them.
in a couple of days, because remember, it came out halfway through the week. So even in Japan, they're flooding the market, but it's impossible for them to keep up there as well. But it just kind of goes to show that Nintendo's strategy was, let's just ship a ton of these systems.
And that worked out.
So the effect that we're seeing is that it's completely backfired on scalpers. And I feel like most of you...
Just look at the prices. Really low for scalpers.
We're watching can get behind this idea, because we saw this immediately. Remember when the pre-orders went up? People were taking their Switch 2, and they're like, okay, cool, I got the pre-order. Let's go over to eBay and start listing this thing. And we saw some of them pop up for like almost $1,000. There was like $800 to $1,000.
And no one bought it because the console had good stock.
And people were going on mass reporting them, trying to get them pulled down, because you need to have the product in hand within 30 days of it coming out, right? You can't do, so it's very difficult to do a pre-order then because you don't have it, right? That's the problem. And you won't have it for a couple of months then when they were doing pre-orders that time. So now I'm looking at this. These are sold listings. These aren't even like, oh, let's list these for $800. I don't see that in the sold listings, guys. I see a $665 Switch 2 bundle with Mario Kart World that typically sells for $500. And I will say, of course, these sellers, for the most part, would have to deal with some kind of state tax in the U.S., unless they're all buying it in Delaware or something. So that also does go into the cost part of it when it comes to them trying to measure out how much profit they're making. All right. So as we go through this list, I want you to realize you're going to see this a lot. This might be one of the best one I see right here. $640 with $20 shipping on a $450 system. That's actually not the worst. But think about how a lot of time the resellers, scalpers, they want to double their money right away. That's kind of the idea. Get the product, see if you can double up, and then move on. They'd be selling for $900 plus, because the fee for eBay is like 13.5%. That's the thing they don't necessarily show you here. So if you take any of these listings, I mean, here's a no reserve, right? So they just let people bid on it. And $635 with $17.86 delivery. If you run that through the eBay calculator, it'll tell you what their margin is there on what they make then. It's like 11%. I don't really know why you would go stand in line or make a whole thing about trying to get one of these systems to make 11% on your investment, and then also have the chance of you not.
Yeah, like consider that thing. Taxes from eBay. You might even be losing money from selling a console you've bought.
Being able to sell it. Now, I do think the Switch 2 you can sell and get your money back one way or the other, even if it's at like break even locally, say. This isn't the cash cow that I kind of think many of them were people who were reselling were hoping to see. There's at least a $691 one. That's like one of the high marks of $680. I've seen some of these be bundles where they're throwing in an SD card. Hey, we'll give you a 256 gigabyte SD card. We'll give you a controller of some kind with it, one of those PowerA ones or ON ones. Just doing whatever they can to try to sweeten the listing a bit. It's not budging above $700. See, here's one with a Pro controller for $725 with $20, but the Pro controller is $85. So it's the reason I'm happy to see, I will say this, I'm happy to see what's going on here with the scalpers, is because this is one of those situations where it does become kind of deflating then if your plan is to resell these console launches. It makes you reconsider maybe the next one, and that's what I'm hoping is they go, is this going to be the plan for these companies in the future? Will Sony look at this and go, wow, if we can make enough of them now because we don't have supply chain issues like we did in 2020, yeah, we can sell them all. People have no the market seems fine with a $450 to $500 Switch 2 with
like
bundle with Mario Kart.
It just went extremely well. Like even I didn't expect the console to be sold that much in such a time frame.
Like they don't have a problem spending that kind of money at the counter on launch for the most dedicated fans, you assume. And then, of course, you buy games or accessories, other things. You might be spending $600, $700, $800. So Sony might think, okay, we can flood the market, and we can make it happen, and we'll sell them, which not exactly what scalpers want to hear. So I am very happy to at least see from that side that it has completely backfired on them, and it just doesn't make sense at all to buy any of these systems up, these Switch 2s, to resell them. Why? Because that just leaves it for people who actually want the system to play it. You know, whether you're annoyed at Nintendo or not, you're like, oh, hey, if at least somebody really wants the system, they can indeed find it. And hey, hopefully that means if you really want the PS6 in the future, or whatever Xbox comes up with, the Xbox Series XXX. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below with the idea of the Switch 2 not.
Well, I think I think it's very simple. It's simply great. Like the way it was sold, like they thought of everything. Scalpers are biting the dust. That's all I need. And back to people not tracking the console.
Casca here, and this is the Nintendo Switch 2, a device I got last night. I decided to play it pretty much nonstop. I've just spent the last 12 hours playing every exclusive, every new feature, testing stuff out, popping off Joy-Cons and stuff, and I gotta say that immediately, even after that first 12 hours, I kind of regret it. Really lacks that Nintendo spark, that charm, that specialness that made the original Nintendo Switch so great. This thing honestly feels lazy, but I'll explain why I'm saying that and why I feel like this system, it really exists to make money more than be fun like any other Nintendo gadget has been. But let me break it down. Hi, hope you have a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. New GameCube stuff, and I feel like the part of what made the original Nintendo Switch so incredible is a 7.9-inch screen. Now you might think that an inch bigger might not feel that substantial, but when it's in your hand, this thing feels like a very, very beefy.
The thing is that, like, I think that's an OLED that he's showing as well. That's an OLED or not?
So
I don't know.
last night I played all night. I was playing all sorts of different stuff, RPGs. I was playing all sorts of stuff, but this morning, when coffee shops started opening up, I needed some caffeine, so I decided to bring my Switch 2 and just sit there and kind of do a couple of laps in Mario Kart while I down, actually interchange them, so you can just put them on in the wrong way. That's weird. Here's the thing. When you play it with the actual controller, this is the worst Nintendo controller I have ever seen. Look at this. I feel like you're not even going to believe it. Look at these parts hanging off. When you hold the controller, terrible in the hand. And it's super weird about why they would have these edges hang off. Now, clearly, the reason they have these giant bits just hanging off the edge of the controller, which downright feel terrible, is because this is the original Nintendo Switch controller. People call it the puppy face or the dog face, and this design exists I was playing it, I kept just being shocked about how bad the default controller actually feels.
But actually,
now, I almost want to put on my conspiracy hat and say it's
at this stage, it's not that bad, but it's clearly not the best.
because they want you to buy the $100 Pro controller, which I'm not going to do. Now, Nintendo Switch 1 controllers, including Pro controllers, the Zelda problem. So the biggest thing about the Nintendo Switch 2 over the
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch
Fade
1
upgrade, yes.
is the power boost. That it is a bigger, stronger console that is technically possible to play 4K 60 FPS. Some games are going to run at 120 FPS. Of all my testing so far, nothing runs above 60 FPS. Game I nothing. What the deal is? I didn't see any. See like an option, hey, enable 4K. A lot of these games just don't look better. The thing that made the original Nintendo Switch so great at launch was that it was the Zelda machine. That honestly, Breath of the Wild might be one of the best games ever played. And this week, I've been doing a fresh playthrough when I converted it over to the Nintendo Switch, which of course costs $10 for a graphics patch. When I started playing it, it really doesn't look that different. This is supposed to be 4K 60 FPS and I guess better assets, but it doesn't really look like it. A bunch of these Nintendo Switch 2 patches just does this really run that much better than the Nintendo Switch? Maybe it's just that I've been playing so much Nintendo Switch lately, but Mario Kart World is an $80 game. It doesn't really look like it's that much bigger or better than Mario Kart Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 looks 99. I did in here that felt impossibly complex or so advanced. Every other system, the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5, all that stuff, when you play it, it had a launch game that went, oh yeah, there is no way this could have possibly run on the previous generation. Nothing about the Nintendo Switch 2 really feels different, other than Cyberpunk. Now, this is what made the original Nintendo Switch so fantastic, in my opinion, which is that I love the impossible ports. I ended up playing.
Yep, and like I'm gonna be honest with you, it's extremely like surprising that it even works.
So many hours of stuff like Doom Eternal, The Witcher 3, and even if those were very, very bare bones ports, be substantially downgraded, it was always cool to me to actually see those games playable portably, right? It was just great to take a game that big, that chaotic, that gory in the case of Doom, and downscale it to a handheld. And here, I think that's the stuff that's going to end up getting the most play when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2. Cyberpunk doesn't look the best. Obviously, I've played a lot of hours of Cyberpunk 2077 on PC. I played a ton of hours on Xbox and PS5. But when I'm playing it on essentially a tablet, I'm not looking for that level of graphics. To me, it is very, very impressive that this even seems to very so I never played Phantom Liberty. It's going to be cool to finally play Phantom Liberty for the first time on this bad boy. That is extremely cool. But going back to the power issue, I think part of my issue, my annoyance about this system is just that exorbitantly big price tag. And also, it seems like Mario 3D All Stars. Mario 3D All Stars is delisted. You can't buy it, it's not on the shop. When I started playing it, it required a patch. A delisted game required a patch to even get going, which Nintendo Switch 2 that do work on the Nintendo Switch 1, which I'm sure some people are going to go, okay, well, there's 13,000 Switch games. This is a half of a half of a half of a. It's a total that there's actually a whole list of games that if you try to type in on the Nintendo Switch store, they just don't appear on the Switch 2 store. They're undownloadable. That's kind of strange. A personal gripe of mine. A game I was most excited to play on the Nintendo Switch 2 is actually a port. You know, it's going to sound goofy. I love online backwards compatible stuff. I love playing Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo 64 games and all that stuff. I love that stuff. So, for the Nintendo Switch 2, you can now play GameCube games. Now, there's only 3 GameCube games to start with. I feel like they should have done at least 5, but it's Soul Calibur, it's F-Zero GX, and it's also Wind Waker. I was most excited to that point played emulators and stuff. I have seen good, clean upscaling. I've seen more good upscaling than bad upscaling, so I'm kind of shocked to see an official version of these games coming back, and it's the crappy version. It looks terrible. And the reason this is so irksome is because there is Twilight Princess HD, there's Wind Waker stuff like upgrade. The Nintendo Switch 2 does not exist for fun. It doesn't exist to have cool exclusives. It doesn't exist to blow your mind or even just to have those cool little adventures. It exists purely for profit first. Last night while I was in line, I was talking to the people around me and just kind of chatting up because we had to wait a couple hours. Excited about. And so many people were saying, I am buying 0 games. I'm not getting Mario Kart. I'm not getting Cyberpunk. I'm waiting for Donkey Kong. I'm waiting for Elden Ring. I'm waiting for Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I found it interesting that that was a sentiment I heard from multiple people. That they're buying this just because it's a bigger screen to play just one game's on. And to me, that does kind of suck.
That's a bit
Now,
stupid, yes.
Another thing I want to talk about that I actually think is just so stupid is the game chat button. Now, on your computer...
Oh, bro, like, the first video we've watched, like, the mate was, like, doing the feature, and this one is like, meh, it sucks.
Controller, you're extremely uncomfortable controller. You got this big C button. You bring up phone number in, you have to verify. I'm not going to do that. I feel like this feature is so stupid. No, just that I'm in a privileged position, but all my best friends, they all have the apartments around me. So when we want to play games, we just go and hang out and actually physically have our systems, right? I'm never ever going to use game chat. I don't even care enough to put my phone number into the app and not possibly care. I genuinely regret buying this thing. It feels like it has a worse battery life. I've seen a lot of people already testing it. I ain't fully run it dead, but even
That's before, like, you know, because it was like on the release day of the console. So it was before the bug was acknowledged by the Nintendo.
even in the course of filming this video, literally in the course of filming this video, it has already gone down 10%. Literally sitting here playing a little bit of Cyberpunk. Literally here in 14 minutes. I went from 90% to 82% in 10 minutes. It just feels like the battery life, just every part of this, it feels like a downgrade. I've been playing Nintendo consoles now for my entire life, but I've been reviewing them specifically now for about 12 years. I've got old I had little mini stick arms, but like 3DS press events and stuff. And each generation always felt like it was trying to do something. But there have been those stumbles, times where they tried to do something that just didn't really fully work. Like there was the 3DS, and then there was the new 3DS. And the new 3DS had completely pointless
Well, the 3DS is already the DS2, so.
upgrade that isn't for me, it isn't for you. I just don't get it. I definitely regret buying the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm going to do a separate video specifically about Mario Kart World because now that I've played about 7 hours of it, the game just sucks. This is by far the worst Nintendo launch game I have ever seen. But I do to me, as a person with a Steam Deck, with a good PC, with a PlayStation 5, with an Xbox, this thing is definitely going to be gathering dust very, very soon. 4K, 120 FPS, somehow still blurry as hell.
They say 4K, not 120 FPS. They say 1080p, 120 FPS.
No, thank you. How do you Nintendo? How are you feeling just in general about the state of Nintendo? Does it feel like these $80 games, these $100 controllers, this $500 system, does this feel like the future you wanted? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already.
Tell you, so mates doesn't really like the console, except for Cyberpunk.
So
Oh, that was the stream, so actually, no, it's not important. Well, now let's talk about, like, problems with the system. You know that when the Nintendo Switch came out, it was crippled with many problems, like big problems. Like, you know, there was even a video called Nintendo Switch Painful Launch. Remember this video? Remember this video? Yes, this happened soon after the Switch's release because of a
the Nintendo Switch 2 will not flop because I will personally see to it that it doesn't.
You should be ashamed of yourself. I can't believe
Okay. The first, that's not an issue.
Look at your little birdie arm. I could smoke them little arms.
Exactly. One of the big issues is that now that it uses magnets, you can actually hurt your fingers if you put the controllers the wrong way. Plain what? Idiot.
I did not transfer my save data from my original Switch onto my Switch 2.
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar.
Any playtime that I have on my Switch 1, like this game, if I play it on the Switch 2, my hours do not go up.
You forgot about the cloud saves on this game.
Even though I've played it for a long time today.
Breaking my silence on this hell site because my Switch 2 arrived broken in box. That's $500 down and off to a strong start.
It's a feature, not a bug.
No. Okay, no. What are we gonna do about it?
Yeah, that's still plain work, yeah. Needs therapy, yes.
Gex Trilogy is completely unplayable on Switch 2.
Okay, now I get your point.
Most modern joysticks use a potentiometer to read the voltage as a wiper that slides across a strip of resistive material. That material wears down over time, or plastic and dust can dirty the sensors. It is possible to make better joysticks. Hall effect and TMR sticks are both drift resistant. But, oh that's right, Joy-Cons attach with magnets. That'll interfere with the Hall effect sensor. TMR is far more resistant to magnetic interference, so maybe? Nope, these joysticks look almost exactly like the old sticks. Same drifty sensors, just a slightly different form factor.
You must first sign this waiver of death.
Yeah, sure, why not?
And Nintendo of America at CD Projekt Red. Was shocked at the on my first mission of Cyberpunk 2077. The Switch 2 couldn't handle it.
It's dropping frames so bad.
I'm afraid I'm...
Oh my god, like, he's got a few problems with his game. When I played this game, it went with no issues, so I think he really got a faulty unit.
It's dropping frames so bad.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to report this.
I'm just trying to move around. What is happening?
Has anyone playing Cyberpunk 2077 on Switch 2 seen any
Nah.
issues like this? It almost looks like a bad GPU, but this only happens in-game. Menus and Switch Home Screen OS is fine and has no visual problems.
I'm not impressed at all when we're talking about the HDR capabilities of the Switch 2.
Have you ever heard the expression, the customer is always right?
This just capable of doing 450 nits in HDR mode. And honestly, 450 nits, that's not even close to get a proper HDR experience.
Magic, got it.
Oh, this is the first time with this video. What are you doing, mate? Mate, you just activated Zoom.
Why? How did this happen? What's going on?
Is it added Zoom, mate? Triple press the home button.
On Nintendo Switch 2, you can play Nintendo Switch 2 games.
It got fixed since then, but yeah, it was up to a rough start.
Nintendo Switch games.
If you're wondering what that update was for, it was to apparently fix screen flickering.
I use the word apparently because it didn't fix shit. If this is the mandatory update that fixes this issue, I don't even want to know what the unupdated version looks like because the screen flickers frequently in regular gameplay, and sometimes it can even be non-stop. This glitch is self-explanatory. In menus or in the middle of gameplay, the screen will just fully distort for a brief moment. Worst of all, we have crashing. I can confirm this game does crash. Now, I've played a lot of Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the Switch 1, and never have I ever seen that game crash. So for the game to all of a sudden be experiencing crashes, especially when I didn't even play it for that long, is definitely concerning.
So I was just filming, I was just getting ready for another scene. I had this thing idling here, and the audio stopped. This is the only time that I've actually like almost caught something on footage. You can see nothing is working. If I pull out the controller, it doesn't show that it's able to connect. So that one's not connected. This other side connected. We press the power button. It doesn't work.
Go back and get your money.
This is the fourth time. Change it already. Can't tell me this is the only one that thought this video. What?
Thing I was curious about, how will they handle the scaling situation? This is a 1080p screen. Switch games, handhelds, they run in a 720p container. When you increase the size of a pixel, you always want to go in times 2, times 3, times 4, whatever, right? If you take 720p times 2, that's 1440p. There's no way to evenly get it to 1080p. This is a screenshot, this is a photograph, Marvel vs. Capcom Collection, Switch 2 handheld mode. And when you zoom in, you can see how fucking scraggly, how jagged this line is. That's not what it's supposed to look like. That's because of how they're up-resing 720p to 1080p on the Switch 2. You see how fuzzy the O looks? That's not what it's supposed to look like. It's so bad, dude.
Nope, you are nitpicking and biased. I win, bye-bye.
How is the latency? It's latent. Oh, it is. The latency is latent is what it is. Oh. Do I have to get like an upgrade package or some shit? How many frames of delay? Approximately 8 to 15. The sound is definitely something. The connection is rough. Rollback hasn't been invented yet. Why is there 4 players? So it defaults to a 4-player room in a 2-player game? Anytime I press more than a couple buttons, it fucking dies.
Look at the freaking network sign on top.
100%. You mash buttons and it goes to shit. That always has 4 people connected in games that are only 2-player. That is not a good idea.
How's this?
I'm disconnected? Me?
Nintendo Switch Online, mate.
I opened and I saw the little marks on it.
Joe Poslano got his hands on the brand new Nintendo Switch at midnight. But there was just one little problem, or technically two.
Two nice little cracks right in the screen.
Puncture holes damaging his brand new screen. Stapled the receipt directly to the box.
I was like, oh,
GameStop.
it's the staple. The staple lines up perfectly with where the holes are.
Why'd you break it?
And to complete it, yeah, of course. Oh, however, no, it's different.
A truck stop, and the question still tonight, where are they now?
And many may be showing up for sale online here in the coming week.
Wow. It's sure I'm not going to be trying. Voila, there we go. So yeah, Nintendo Switch 2 does have issues, but not as much as the first Nintendo Switch ever had. If you remember, like the entire painful launch, everyone had different issues. Well, he as well, but much more different issues. Like on this one, wasn't as bad, but yeah, I was a little bit problematic for some people. But overall, the Switch launch went pretty well for Nintendo, and I just hope that for them it's going to work even better, because like the console, at least for me, is fine. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's fine. Because like I've tested the console, yeah, the battery life is not very good, but at least like I've been using it, and it just does its stuff. Like I play, it plays, and like on all the games I've played, I didn't see much issues. Well, besides Splatoon 3, where with issues for like Nintendo Switch 1 users, which actually is a big bottleneck in itself. And like I'm thinking about a bootleg right now, because he's still playing on a Nintendo Switch, on the first Nintendo Switch, and I know that he's having this little issue, like in Splatoon 3. So I just hope it's going to be like fixed soon, because like it's pretty annoying for some players. So yeah, like when it's going to work again, like I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that it should better like improve the thing by a lot. Like in terms of online in Splatoon 3. But like in the next streams, we won't be like playing Splatoon 3 anyway. I'm going to be alone anyway, so for me that's not going to be much an issue. Just know that like I won't be playing the game before like the summer nights, so still a little bit of wait to do before I go ahead to play like Splatoon 3. And then like it's going to be like the end of streams for like the summer regular stream, so it's not going to be an issue either. So just let's go ahead and say that like that like the Nintendo Switch works besides a few games, and let's just say that like it's just a full start for a few users, and it's definitely going to be improving over time. Just like the Nintendo Switch did, like it went to a painful start, but after it launched, it was pretty good. So let's just hope that it's going to stick that way, like, you know, over the next few years. So only time will tell. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back on the Saturday night, July 5th at 10 p.m. And without further ado, this was Naf for the Reactathon. Thanks so much, mate. I'll see you next week.